No Ayala, 935 KDA Power 106. You see what's in the background. We are out here live from the LA Rams practice. This Sunday is the big game in New Orleans against the Saints. I'm talking about the NFC Championship game. So what we're going to do, we're going to watch them practice. We're going to talk to some of the coaches. We're going to hear from some of the players. So check this out.
Wade, did it take a while for you and the staff to kind of figure out how to best work Ndamukong and Aaron in combination?
Well, I mean, I think it's the whole defense, or that's what you do, is try to get a feel for what they really do well, what their real strengths are, and if they have some weaknesses, try not to put them in those situations. Now, I said earlier I did that with Marcus Peters. I did a disservice with him in that first game, so because he didn't have any help with the receiver. So we learn as we go. I'm just about to get experienced enough to learn how to do it, but that's what our job is: try to get them in a good position to make plays.
Coach, as far as having a fully integrated Dante Fowler Jr. this time around, how does that improve the defense?
Yeah, I mean, Dante was new with us last time he played. I think he's a lot more comfortable with the defense. He's made some big plays since he's been with us. As more he learned, and the more we were able to learn what he could do and how he could do it. So, we expect him to have a good game.
Wade, when Aqib came in right away, he said he wasn't trying to be a leader, but yet he got picked as a team captain right away. What is it about him, and does he do things in subtle ways that maybe he doesn't even recognize?
Yeah, he's a natural leader. He was that way in Denver, and he was the same way. I mean, he was a real driving force in our playoff and championship and Super Bowl win as a leader. Also, he played really well, but he was a big factor. There were a lot of things that came up in the locker room, all those things, of him helping prepare the team, just like coaches do. He's pretty proactive about everything, so he's a big personality, so you can't help but be drawn to him. I tell him he always takes the other side, whatever side you take. Well, then he's going to argue the other side, those kind of things. But I mean, that's him. He gets going. He gets excitable about a lot of things, and he's a lot of fun to be around.
Wade, how much?
And he made me dripping in the Super Bowl, so that was nice.
How much does his ability to be proactive help just from a communication standpoint when you go against a quarterback like Drew Brees?
Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees is, obviously not only one of the greatest of all time, he's having even a better year than he had last year, where he set the record for the highest percentage of completion. So he's a tremendous quarterback. He knows what you're in most of the time, and so you've got to be able to play whatever your technique is and play it really well when he does know what you're in. We still try to disguise things, and certainly we're going to move around on him, but it's hard to catch him not knowing basically where the weakness of the defense is, or his one-on-one situation with Mike Thomas. If he sees that, well, then he's going to try to hope his guy can beat your guy. So, but he knows that, and so he goes to him in those situations. If you double one guy, then he knows to go somewhere else. And if you're playing zone, he knows where the weaknesses of the sweet spots of the zone are.
Coach Phillips, right here in the photo bank.
All right.
Coach Payton and Coach McVay are considered two of the best offensive coaches in the NFL. You go against one in practice every day. This is the second time you're going against Coach Payton's offense. Do you see any similarities between the coaches or how they coach their offenses?
Well, the big things, obviously, they're well disciplined in what they do. They know what they're doing. They know how to take advantage of defenses. When they see something that you're in, they come back with something that will hurt it. Those kind of things. Coach McVay's not only a really good offensive coach, he's a heck of a head coach. So he helps us on defense too.
Wait, just going back to when Sean asked you if you would be his defensive coordinator, I remember you said you kind of chuckled, like, all right, you're going to get a head job as a 30-something-old guy.
Right.
But what do you recall picking up from Sean that really made you believe you wanted to be on this staff?
That he wanted what?
What do you recall about Sean that made you kind of have a belief in him that you wanted to join his staff?
Well, it was mostly my son Wes who worked with him, with the Redskins. So Wes told me all about him. I'd met him before, but Wes told me all about him and all the great things about him. Wes had already said he thought he was going to be a great head coach, and he has great command of the room and all those things. And so it was really from Wes. Now Wes is a young offensive coach that knows Sean McVay, just if anybody's looking for another head coach. So, he knows him real well. So.
And Wes wasn't wrong.
What's that? Oh, no, Wes was absolutely correct, which he usually is. That's why he's a really good coach.
When you look back at the first time you guys faced him, Alvin Kamara, I mean, they really used him, especially a lot in the first half. He had, I think, the 3 first half scores. How tough of a matchup?
Yeah, he's a matchup problem. Go back to the old days, but Marshall Faulk was that way, he could run with the ball great, but then you could put him out as a wide receiver, and he can run wide receiver routes, or he can beat you out of the backfield. It's the same type guy with great ability. I'm not going to put him in the Hall of Fame yet, but he has a lot of similar traits that are hard matchup problems for you.
A couple more, Jeff.
With Taysom Hill, when he's in there, what kind of challenges does he present for your defense, and not just defense, but special teams?
Yeah, I mean, they've utilized the ability he has. Certainly, special teams, he's a good special teamer, but he's got a lot of speed. He can throw the ball at quarterback, and when you throw a guy in that can play tight end, and all of a sudden he's playing quarterback, those are he's very versatile. So it causes you to say, hey, if he's playing tight end, we do this. If he's playing wide receiver, you got to do this. Playing quarterback, got to do this. If you're playing even running back, you got. So it makes you prepare for a lot of different things, and you have to be real sound in what you do. So they utilize him really that way.
Afternoon, Coach.
Yeah, afternoon.
Getting Talib, Sue, Peters all in the same off season. Were you surprised at that? Did you know that was the plan going into the offseason to try to stockpile talent? And what was it about those guys that allowed them to acclimate as quickly as they have to what you were running?
Well, Les, I mean, that's what Les and Sean do, is try to get the talent. And, they go out, they do a great job of it. Obviously, we're 14-3 now, so we've got a lot of talent. It's not all coaching, but they do a good job of procuring the players. And then those two guys are veteran players that have played really well in the league and are smart players. And I think that that bodes well for any team.
Maintained its level of concentration getting ready for this contest?
Well, I think it's just having been in somewhat, similar experiences and really atmospheres earlier in the year where we had to deal with some of the things that went on in the community, dealing with the fires, and our players just seamlessly adjust and adapt to whatever circumstance we have to deal with. And, we talked about it today. We're not going to allow the weather to be any bit of an excuse. We felt like this was a better option and alternative than having to travel somewhere else. So we'll get some good work in today. I trust that guys won't be affected by it, even though it's not exactly like the environment that we'll play in being indoors. But, we're not going to allow it to be a distraction. We know we've got a great opportunity to play against the Saints for a conference championship, and that's solely what our focus is on.
And also because of the leadership that you have as well, the veteran leadership that you have plays a big part in that as well.
That's exactly right. And I think that to me is as strong an influence on what we do as anything, is those veteran players having the ownership, having the understanding to worry about things that we can only control. And we can't control the weather. We can't control where we're practicing just based on where we're at, and all we can control is having a great day of preparation.
Sean, the way Todd Gurley has accepted the situation with CJ, we've seen it. It could go other ways, professional sports in general. The way he has accepted that, was that a conversation that you had to have with him, or is it just kind of how he's wired?
Yeah, I mean, Todd knows he's a special, unique football player. I think he's very secure in himself so that he understands that CJ helps us. And really, you know, for Todd, just getting back in the flow, being able to kind of just get his wind back and be able to have as productive a game as he did with him having really had a month off, I think is a large credit to Todd, but then also his understanding and security to be able to be supportive of CJ. If there's one thing that you hear about Todd that I think says as much as anything, anytime that he's asked about, you know, how we're doing or the running game, you know, he's always quick to give credit to everybody else. He's definitely recognized what a good job CJ's done to help our football team. And I think when your best players have that mindset as far as it's about the team and it's about how can we best win a football game, and I think he knows that being able to stay fresh while he's still our guy, but also then giving CJ an opportunity to make some plays is best for the team right now. And I think that's a large credit to our leadership and Todd being one of those key leaders.
Sean, what are you going to do today with practice? Are you going to try to get on the grass, or are you just going to go in the...
Yeah, we'll get outside. We're going to try to get some of that worked in that we try to do with some of the fast-paced, up-tempo periods. If we feel like it's to the point where we're not getting as much out of it just based on the field conditions, you know, we had a tarp over the field, so it seems like it's in good shape right now, but worst-case scenario, we can always bump right inside to that nice big tent that you guys see out there.
Sean, did you explore going to other places? And if so, where were you considering? And then how quickly did that situation come together in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, really, when we looked at what the weather was going to be last week, and then when you start to explore the options, to actually think about having to go off-site and have the players leave their families and their kids and the coaches as well earlier, we felt like that wasn't going to give us the reward. You know, we wanted to be able to keep our normal rhythm and routine, even if we did have to practice in the rain. And you know, the tent was a result of once we made that decision that we weren't going to explore any of those other options. It would have to be so far that we would have to travel. And I think the most important thing is keeping our guys in a normal rhythm and a routine. If there's one thing that they've demonstrated, especially as you get this late in the season, it's that they have the ability to be able to take a lot of mental reps, maximize some of those physical reps, and then it translates to the game. You know, you don't take for granted the importance of those physical reps during the course of a week. But if you said we're going to supplement that to be able to stay here, get some more mental work, as opposed to picking up and traveling and going somewhere else, we just felt like that was going to be best for our team to keep it in-house here.
Sean, you talked about CJ absolutely, going to have a role here. Is there a scheduled plan on how you're going to rotate them when you go into a game, or is it just the feel and the situation as to how you want to use them?
Yeah, I think it's more of a feel than anything else based on the flow of the game. I thought Skip did a great job. And we want to be able to get those guys both involved, but certainly when Todd's rolling, you want to keep him rolling. But I think it's more of a result of, okay, how's the flow of the game going, certain situations that come up. But you do feel good about having two very productive backs and their ability to be able to kind of spell each other. But, Todd's going to go and he's going to make a lot of different plays and he's going to get a lot of opportunities. But I do think, with Todd having played basically almost 100% of the time prior to taking a little bit of time off with his knee, this has provided a good opportunity for us to see, hey, you're still our guy, but now if CJ comes in, he's played productive football, and I think that's the biggest thing that gives Todd a quieted mind when he wants to come off. He's such a team guy that he doesn't want to come off because he doesn't want to feel like he's letting anybody else down. But I think as a result of some of the production that you've seen from CJ, he can feel good about getting his good work in, but if he needs a blow, then CJ's coming in and doing a nice job.
Because CJ also isn't known as the receiver that Todd is, are you noticing defenses kind of lining up a certain way when CJ's in the game that's affording you maybe to do some things off of run action?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. We've only really had one game with those guys playing together. CJ's made some plays, in the screen game, and he can catch the ball. The first week he was here, he made a couple big-time one-handed snags on some routes down the sideline and stuff, so don't sleep on him, Steve.
Coach, was there a particular shortcoming in the first matchup that came to your attention that you said, we need to commit to focusing on this rest of the way?
I think really just our ability to kind of we fell behind. They capitalized on some of the turnovers. We ended up not converting on a fake field goal opportunity, and they're so explosive. And I thought they were so efficient in the red zone. They were so efficient on third downs. I thought there was a point in time where once we came out of the half, I thought getting a field goal at the end of the half to really cut it. And Greg hits a big time one with our offense operating at the end of the first half. Then you come out and you find a way just to creep back into it, and you get it to 35 35 all before you know it because the defense started playing really well. But I just think when you fall behind against such an explosive team, then they can start to dictate a lot of different looks defensively. They can speed it up or slow it down on you offensively, and they're so dangerous, with their special teams and some of the things they present as well. So really, it's just a matter of falling behind and then some of those situational things that we could do a better job of.
Sean, obviously, the game plan will be different just by the nature. You guys have CJ, and you have a couple different receivers in there. But how much of a challenge is it as a play caller when you've seen this team in Week 9 to now, on a stage at this level, plan for the Saints?
Yeah, it's a great challenge because they're a great defense. I don't think it's necessarily exclusive to the fact that we've played them already. There's been so much inventory and so many snaps that have taken place since we played them dating back. So you've got a lot of different things that they've done. There's a lot of different things that we've done, and it's about figuring out, okay, what's the best way to put our players in situations that put them in spots to succeed, that accentuate their skill sets, but also gives us answers versus the defensive structures that they're presenting or the offensive things that we expect Coach Payton to present to Wade in our defense. So I think really it is a great challenge, but it's because it's a great football team we're playing, not necessarily because we've played them already.
And then Jared yesterday said that he broke out of his slump 4 weeks ago and all these issues are fixed. What specifically did Jared improve from that time when you struggled a little bit?
Yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit, Lindsay. It really, sometimes it can be just the fact of a ball bouncing one way or the other. The quarterback is under such a microscope with every single thing. And sometimes if you have a game where, a play that you're aggressive, you try to fit it into a window, 2 of those times where it gets tipped up and they end up getting picks on those plays where sometimes they go incomplete or you fit it in there for a completion. That's the difference in somebody being evaluated as in a slump, out of a slump. So I think it's such a fine line, but what he's done a good job of is the consistent decision-making down in and down out. I think the ability to distribute the ball and get a variety of playmakers involved, whatever phase of our passing game that we're operating in. I thought he did do some really good things in the Philly game, and then we talked about really going back to the Chicago game. That really was, that was a collaborative effort, and it started with me there. So I think everybody wants to make a big deal of the way that he was playing, but I think in large part it's because he was playing at such an elite level, he almost became a victim of his own success. But he really didn't fall off at all. I think it was just some of those things that bounced, one way or the other. And then defensive guys made some good plays. So he settled in. I think he's done an excellent job over the last month of the season. And most importantly, I think our team's in a good place. We had a little bit of a lull there where everybody was ready to press the panic button except for everybody in this building. And I think that's what's a credit to our players, to our coaching staff, finishing up the season the right way, got a little bit of momentum having played the way that we did against a great Dallas football team. And we're excited about the challenge for the conference championship this week.
Sean, each of the last 10 conference championship games have been won by the home team. From your perspective...
Nice. So we shouldn't show up then probably, huh?
From your perspective, how much of an advantage is home field? Or I guess in your situation, how much of a disadvantage is it actually?
Yeah, no, it's definitely an advantage, especially when you look at the type of atmosphere that you're going to have in New Orleans. And having been there, you have a respect for that. We'd love to be at home, but... it's a great opportunity for us to go into their place, try to play a great game, and see if we can break that 10-year streak.
If you're practicing outdoors, how are you able to kind of prepare for that Superdome crowd noise? And then also you just mentioned Andrew Whitworth making you a better coach. How has he done that?
Yeah, so the first part of it, we'll have the speakers out like we normally would. I don't think you can truly mimic and emulate that noise that you're going to have. So that's how we'll do that as far as just kind of getting acclimated to the noise, specifically when our offense is operating. And then I think really just the player's perspective that Andrew gives you with regards to things that he might see because he has such a good understanding. And I didn't play offensive line, but some of the things tips tells or just based on his overall vantage point and experience that he's able to give you that you don't have unless you're a player, make you more in tune with some things as a coach. But I think what you learn more importantly is just, how you lead in an authentic and genuine way. Watching him operate has definitely been one of the things that's kind of changed the way that you view what true leadership is, the way that I view it. And I think it's because it comes from such a just natural place because he's got such an empathy for people and it's an authentic way that he's connecting. And he doesn't necessarily have to say it all the time, but he just does right all the time. And he touches guys individually, and it's something that's been really, beneficial for our football team. And to be able to see it, you can't help but get better being around somebody like him.
Sean, you had some situations this year at Seattle when you kind of changed your mind and went for it on fourth down, the situation at New Orleans where you went for a field goal. Now that you're in a championship game, how do you kind of monitor yourself so that you don't go too conservative or too wild in terms of those kinds of decisions?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, it goes back to the communication that exists amongst really our coaching staff and really kind of following our process. And then there is an element where a lot of those decisions, I see the stats and different things like that, but so much of it is a product of a gut feel. The one thing I think, especially when you're talking about football compared to some of the other stats where you use those numbers, you're talking about 22 moving parts on every single snap, matchups that occur. I get what it says on the 4th and 1. Here's what the chart says, different things like that. But if you feel like you're getting good knockoff, you got confidence and a belief in your players to be able to execute, that's more of a gut thing than sometimes it is. Same thing with the QB sneak that we did in Seattle. So I think we are an aggressive team by nature. I think that's our mindset, that's our mentality, but you don't want to be reckless. So there's an element of making sure that communication is amongst your coaches where you're utilizing those resources around you. But then there's also a feel where, man, we feel real confident in our players' ability to execute, and we're going to play, not fear and failure, but to go attack an opportunity to go win a conference championship. And I know they have the same thing. That's what I respect so much about the Saints is that, they're aggressive. I mean, down 14 from the 2-yard line, they go for it and they deliver in a big way. That gets them back into it. You look back at the Baltimore game earlier in the year. So, I have a lot of respect and admiration for Coach Payton and the way that he calls a game to go win it, not being afraid of losing it. And I'd like to think that that's something that we do at the Rams as well. And we're going to continue to do that going into this weekend. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Well, there you have it. The game is this Sunday. We heard from some players. We heard from some coaches. I can't wait, man. All I got to say is go Rams. No Ayala checking in for 935 KDM Power 106. Peace.